Well, I have another reoccurring guest on Fake Urban. Wanted to make a few comments on my Meyer series. As I interviewed Shelly recently, he would like to comment on that. So I'd like to welcome in Fake Urban.
Hi, Steph. How are you?
I'm good. You don't have to do the voice. I'm going to auto tune it anyway.
I
know. Okay.
But that's my real voice. I'm just trying to explain to people. People think that this is embedded, like I'm some kind of, this is an artificial noise. It's not. This is how I really talk.
It's true. That is true. So what did you said you had a couple of things you wanted to comment on. What were those things that from the interview series I had?
Thank you for talking to my fictional wife. I really appreciate it. I think that was a wonderful, wonderful interview. So really nice job with that. Thanks. First off, I'm a little angry. Where's my swag? Where's my swag? I mean, you guys are showing these Buckeye Scoop outfits and pullovers. And
I don't have swag yet. They gave me my stipend.
I'm her fictional husband. Don't I deserve anything?
I can crop on the image I have. I could dress you into a Buckeye Scoop outfit.
No, I want it in real life. I expect free stuff just like you and just like my fictional wife.
Okay.
Secondly.
So we'll get that done. We'll give you the half zip polo that Shelly and I have.
I appreciate it. Now about the deal with the restaurant, my wife did not give me enough credit about this. She said that this is all Chris Corso and this is all, his doing, that he put together this wonderful restaurant. And yeah, we talked about the menu and they use some of the stuff that we have up there. But does she not know who sometimes has to answer the phone when we have overflow calls for reservations? It's me.
Really?
Yeah, who sometimes has to deal with hosting duties when we have a hostess calling in sick? It's me.
And you stand there as a greeter. We have the Fake Urban cutout.
Yeah, and
right there at the front. Well, you're standing there the whole time with your arm out.
Well, that's point number 7 that I have here today, because you promised me a picture with my fictional wife, and I never got to see that. And
I did get to meet up with them, but it was there. Everyone was pretty preoccupied.
You got me in a mood today. So anyway, there's a picture there. Also. My fictional wife talked about she didn't, when she would not change clothes. Whenever we won, there was a superstition of hers to keep wearing the same outfit, right? She didn't wash them either. And so imagine me having to smell that stuff around the house.
How do you know she didn't wash it?
Because
she never said that. You don't know that.
I'm pretty confident that she didn't wash the clothes either. Now, also, they would talk about switching seats during the game if we were losing or if the other team scored a touchdown, whatever, right? There was one time I was looking for her after a touchdown, okay? And I started blowing kisses over at her in the stands. And then I realized it was Mike Vrabel's wife. Vrabel was pissed. This is not a good thing, and you don't want to get Vrabel upset. And it's one of the reasons he might have left here to go over to the NFL years ago. Now, I don't know what she was talking about with this dead pig and Zeke and all that stuff. I have no idea what that means. So I'm going to have...
Her and I have a mutual friend who, teaches fitness classes as well as Shelly and I do. So, and she has a pet pig and went to prom with Gary from Rascal Flatts. So we caught up in regards to Darby, their neighbor, and who happens to be your neighbor, Fake Urban. You should know Darby.
We'll talk about that some other time.
And the pet pig.
Now, she also talked about how she got in trouble for baking cookies, right?
That was crazy. I didn't hear that story before.
Well, she also promised to bake cookies for me if I was ever named Big Ten Coach of the Year. Guess what never happened?
You're Big Ten Coach of the Decade, so maybe it's still coming.
Well, I think that's only if I'm Big Ten Coach of the Century, and something tells me I won't be that, around that long to find out if I ever won that one. So now that we got all that off my chest, it's good to be here and good to see you today.
Yes, of course, especially now that we've had our first game of the season. It took a long enough time. Just, watching it from the Big Noon kickoff desk. How was that?
Well, it was nice because I didn't have to fly to Los Angeles. All I had to do was drive 20 minutes and I could be next to, my Fox cohorts, including that dreamboat Brady Quinn. And it was really nice. Although Brady, he was really, really bothering me. by about 2:30, 3 o'clock that day. I'm still watching the game.
Oh
And he
boy.
starts this little mental Notre Dame countdown clock. And every 2 minutes he would start coming up to me. He goes, hey, we play Pitt at 3:30. It's like, I don't really care. And, Greenbow has to really settle down when it comes to that Notre Dame crap.
I like Notre Dame. I want them to win the ACC, but I always say I have teams that I like outside of Ohio State. Anyone who plays Ohio State, obviously I root for the Buckeyes, but I'd like to see Notre Dame win. I'm rooting for them.
Well, I was an assistant coach there years ago under Lou Holtz.
Yeah. And you've spoken about that experience several times. So come on, you got to show some love to Notre Dame.
Well, I do, but I just didn't need to hear it from Brady Quinn when he's like, 3 feet away from me at the desk there, and I'm trying to watch my team play.
Well, at Urban's Pine House on Thursday, after I talked with Shelly, the Big Noon Kickoff crew, some of them, the producers and stuff were there, but Reggie Bush, Brady, they didn't show up, and they were supposed to. They advertised it. And yeah, why did your other guests not show up? That was the big question.
I can't speak for them. All I know is Brady probably.
Well, Reggie apparently got locked out of Uber. So that was the reason why he didn't make
Well,
it.
that might have been the case.
We asked him about Lyft, but I guess that didn't work either.
No, but Brady was probably too busy looking at himself in the mirror.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Well, it was an interesting game, and we finally got to see how the guys were lined up. There were some positions that went out first, some guys that started that I was a bit surprised by. Were there any surprises for you?
No. It was really, as I've kind of seen when I sneak into the Woody Hayes, and I still have an office there, so I can see the practices. So no surprises there. I was a little disappointed that we could not run the ball that well. And you're sometimes going to get that problem when you don't play a game for almost 11 months. So I'm sure that stuff is being worked out this week.
Were you a little bit nervous about the D-line? I mean, I know Larry Johnson spoke highly about the defensive ends, saying that all 5 could start somewhere, but you lose Chase Young, and we don't have that elite caliber guy. That's a once-in-a-lifetime guy, and we didn't quite have that star power there this weekend.
Yeah.
Are there concerns there?
Well, I mean, I tweeted this from the sideline on Saturday, but we actually gave Nebraska that opening touchdown. They were really complaining about what was going on with the whole Big Ten not playing, and we decided to give them a little tribute. So we allowed that first touchdown really early on.
It was a gratitude gift for helping us bring back the Big Ten.
No question about it. No question. So it was welcome.
It was a thank you and welcome to the game.
Exactly. We're gonna kick your ass. We're still gonna score 52 points on you, but here, have a touchdown.
Okay. Well, there was some big plays by some young guys. How was that to see? Because you love to recruit and develop guys, seeing them get in early and make some big plays. Thoughts on that?
Well, some of these guys are now Ryan's guys. So
yeah.
Some of them are true freshmen, like that one kid, wide receiver, whose name I better not pronounce right now because I might get suspended forever if I say it wrong. So we'll just say Smith. So he played really, really, really. I mean, that catch he made was phenomenal. But kids like Julian Fleming, another one I didn't recruit, he came in and he played, got some minutes. And then, of course, you got Olave and Wilson. So, and yes, I did recruit those, and I did a damn good job getting them, didn't I? But it was great seeing them play, and, everything Fields threw pretty much they caught. It was great.
Well, there were lots of penalties and targeting calls. That was a big topic after the game. Lots of people had comments on it. Joel Klatt spoke on it. What are your thoughts on the targeting rules in place in college football?
Well, I think that the targeting rules should be reviewed. I'm just glad the SEC officiating crew is not doing the replay review for this game like they did in our playoff game last year, because they probably would have sent a targeting call every other play. But Nebraska's players seem to be a little bit playing more aggressively. We'll just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm. Well, around the Big Ten, there were some upsets that were very surprising with Rutgers. Indy had a huge game in overtime that they took down Penn State. We play them next week. Thoughts around the Big Ten? What surprised you? What are you looking for in the next week's game as well?
Well, I think it was very amusing to see Penn State lose, and it was even more amusing to see them lose like they did. It really, really made me pleased, as I like to say. I was pleased.
They hurt themselves in a lot of ways.
Yes, they're just all going to complain, cry about that last call, and we'll see what happened. But they
That was a tough last call too.
They stunk.
That was really tough. That I mean, that I would sit on that the entire season.
They were looking
So,
ahead to
that-
playing us, just like Illinois was probably looking ahead when they played us when they lost to Wisconsin on that Friday night game, even though we don't play them until after Thanksgiving. And stupid Rutgers will be thinking about and looking ahead to us, this Saturday when they play, whoever the hell, whoever they play. So
I don't think it was more of Rutgers playing so well. I think that matchup just was weak all around.
well, that team up North State, as I call it, they did not do well, and they did not prepare for stupid Rutgers. And my old defensive coordinator, Mr. Schiano, did a really, really nice job. So I was very happy that he was able to continue saddening teams from up north like he did when he was here in Columbus.
Yeah, and Michigan State, they weren't really fighting to have a season that much. So I think this weekend was a bit telling as to why. But that team up north, Michigan, was fighting for a season. They played pretty well.
Well,
Are you going to admit that?
they did play well, very, very well. And I thought they, would do what they should do against a team like Minnesota, even though PJ Fleck surprised some people last year with his team. But I think the issue was Harbaugh. Everyone's used to seeing people wear masks this year. But Harbaugh in a mask, I mean, it looked like he was about to hold up a 7-Eleven. And I just wasn't really, every time I saw him, I started laughing. And then he changed out of his pants and he wasn't wearing his khakis. He was wearing blue, I don't know, corduroys or something. And he wasn't wearing his cleats. He was wearing dress shoes. So I think maybe he forgot to pack some clothes and had to quickly run over to a Target or somewhere in Minneapolis. To get
I
some
think his clothes were the least of his priorities
Well-
when it came to the first game of the season.
He forgot to pack his khakis, so we'll have to see this trend moving forward. If they use
It was cold. It got cold this weekend.
Oh wow, it's football in the Big Ten.
Okay, so what do you think is going to happen in next week's game? No fans at Happy Valley, a big loss for Penn State not to have that advantage. And, they're coming off of a devastating loss to Indiana. I can't imagine they make those same mistakes again this week.
I can't imagine they can stop us either, though. That's the thing. I think offensively, we're going to be able to put a ton of points on the board again. I think we're going to have to get a running game going this week. And I told you, if we can do that, we can probably put on 40 or 50 points against them. So I think we're good there. That Clifford kid is a pretty good quarterback. He's from Cincinnati. And of course, the national guys will say, oh, look, he's a former Ohio guy trying to make his old school look bad. But you know what? We didn't recruit him for a reason. And, the thing is that I think that, they don't have a running game because now their first and second string running backs are out. And I just don't think they're going to compete with us that well. So, they might have a chip on their shoulder, but the fact that we're in their whiteout stadium with all those fans, oh, wait, there are none, I think that's going to equalize things even more, and we should kill them.
Yeah, and I'll finish with, the Wisconsin quarterback testing positive. They're dipping down to their fourth string quarterback. There was a team that won the national championship with their third string quarterback. That would be your team in 2014. But are there concerns about the Big Ten in general, where there's the 21 days out, whereas other conferences have a shorter amount of time? Is this a bit of a wake-up call? We saw this coming, but just initial reaction to that.
Well, if Wisconsin ruins it for the rest of us, there's going to be hell to pay this year. Wisconsin better not. Now, these Nebraska players who targeted us last week in the second half, they have to sit out now for a canceled game and then the first half of their next game after that. So I don't even know who they play. But I think that Wisconsin better get better. I hope, I hope everyone else is really healthy. Obviously, that's the key, because it's a very serious illness going on around the country. But our players hopefully are making the right choices and are staying safe and healthy and not heading out to bars and restaurants and putting anybody at risk, because I think we know that a lot is at stake this year.
I'm not worried about Ohio State. I think they have it completely locked down. They're completely dedicated to avoiding that risk. But it's the other teams I'm concerned about, where maybe if Penn State loses this weekend, they don't have a team that, they could go out and do it because they're not playing for much anymore. Michigan State's also won. So if we come into a situation where our opponent can't play and we don't have enough wins on our schedule simply because our opponent had to forfeit, Is that what you're concerned about? I mean, definitely not Ohio State, but I think it's the opponents is the biggest concern.
Well, it gives the national media guys good talk, because they're going to talk about us playing even lesser games or a less amount of games than the other schools. So we're already doing that to begin with. So hopefully we can get all these games in and play, and I can continue to talk smack about, certain schools. But, stupid Rutgers better not be stupid, because we better play them and beat them in a couple weeks. And same thing with our entire 5 month of November. I mean, we don't play anybody, but they all better stay healthy.
Right. Well, I appreciate you coming back on, breaking down week 1 and gearing us up for week 2. Looking forward to seeing another week of Big Ten football. Thank you so much, Fake Urban.
Good to see you.